Hello, welcome. Thank you for joining us on this edition of News 2. I'm Sandra Gumansing. Topping our newscast, earlier this week, Senate President Neville James highlighted a packed week for the 31st legislature, and it was indeed. Judging from the agenda for Thursday's Senate session, all nominees and rezoning requests were approved. The session continued well into the evening to discuss quite a few number of bills. News 2's April Knight has details.
Lawmakers had a full plate on Thursday during the Senate session, reviewing several nominees, rezonings, and some 21 bills. Lawmakers approved Rosalie Javois, Richard Grant, and Laurel Hewitt-Sewer, Governor Mapp's nominees to the Banking Board, with a plea for the new members to look into the services of Puerto Rico-affiliated banks in the territory.
The rate of insurance that some of us are paying is just ridiculous.
I've seen programs that are offered in Puerto Rico, Children's Initiative for Savings, that is not offered in the Virgin Islands.
They also okayed the rezoning of a parcel located behind the airport on St. Thomas to commercial. It will become a bulk fuel storage facility to be leased by PG Fuel Inc., a local company owned by Ali Petrus. Concerned Bournefield residents failed to sway the Senate, which approved the rezoning of VIPA-owned land in the area. It would allow Port Authority to move its maintenance and other airport support facilities there.
There's no question that our airport is expanding. There's no question that we need to provide additional support for our ports if we expect to remain competitive.
But Senate President Neville James said that Port Authority should not be in the business of running residential areas anyway. He said that the matter of Bournefield residents living on VIPA property should be put to rest once and for all.
The fact that we have people who live there, own property other place and renting speaks to the kind of abuse that we need to rein in. And at some point we need to put in place an end date with respect to what we're going to do in terms of relocating those residents from Bournefield to where they go. Establish the end date.
The bill that would get rid of the district election boards to make way for one territorial board was also on the table. The unified board would have only 9 members. Reporting for News 2, I'm April Knight.
We will have more on the outcome of the votes for a few of those bills considered by the legislature. Count on 2 to keep you updated. Banco Popular of Puerto Rico has signed an irrevocable standby letter of credit for the Virgin Islands in the amount of $200 million with the Federal Home Loan Bank of New York. According to Government House, this was due to a bill passed last year granting local banking institutions more flexibility in how they insure their deposits. According to Finance Commissioner Vladimir Collins, a standby letter of credit allows for immediate access to capital, ease of use, efficient reporting features, and AAA Moody's investment rating, making it the best option to address any concerns relative to insuring public funds. Members of the Committee on Homeland Security, Justice, and Public Safety, chaired by Senator Novelle Francis, considered and approved Bill number 31-0260 to permit the collection of a DNA sample from any person charged with an applicable offense. Senator Francis said some benefits of the bill includes an increase in criminal convictions, the prevention of convicting the wrong person, and the ability to solve cold cases. Currently, the VI Code only provides for DNA collection from an individual after he or she has been convicted and sentenced for any felony or violent crime or any misdemeanor sexual offense or attempt or conspiracy to commit any felony or violent crime or misdemeanor sexual offense. District Court Judge Curtis Gomez sentenced George Lewis Jr., 50, of St. Thomas, to 4 months in prison and 1 year of supervised release for impersonating a federal officer and blackmail, also 400 hours of community service. Lewis pleaded guilty on November 6, 2015, to 2 counts of an indictment charging him with impersonating a federal officer and blackmail. According to court records, between October 2014 and January 2015, Lewis presented himself as being employed by immigration and he befriended an illegal alien. When that relationship ended, Lewis threatened to have the illegal alien deported, even though Lewis knew he was not an employee of immigration and had no authority to do so. In other news, on Wednesday, February 24th at 4:26 p.m., a male individual reported to officers that he had been robbed. He said he pulled over to the side of Ridge Road located in Estate Nazareth to relieve himself. While in the bushes, he heard a vehicle approaching and made a sudden stop in front of the vehicle. Two armed men then exited the vehicle and pointed their firearms towards the victim, demanding everything in his pockets. The victim handed over his cell phone and all the money he had in his pockets. They removed his keys from the ignition of his vehicle and fled the scene, heading westbound. According to reports, the victim was not injured. Also on Wednesday, February 24th at roughly 11:50 a.m., the 911 emergency call center received a report of gunfire discharge. Responding officers discovered 3 men, ages 18, 36, and 37, who had sustained various gunshot wounds and were transported by ambulance to the Juan Luis Hospital. According to preliminary reports, the trio were in a vehicle traveling from south to north on the Ariadiaz Road. A white vehicle that had been traveling behind of them began to discharge shots at them. The 3 men stopped and ran into the nearby bushes to escape. As the sound of sirens were heard, the assailants got back into their vehicle and drove off. Well, school was back in session Thursday at Elena Christian Junior High School, one day after the Virgin Islands Department of Education, Office of the Insular Superintendent, St. Croix District, asked parents to have students picked up promptly at the close of the school day. The school was on secured lockdown due to a non-school related shooting incident that occurred just after 12 p.m. in the neighborhood located at the far north end of the school. All students and staff were accounted for and secured inside the school building. A portion of the roadway leading to the school had been cordoned off. The investigations continue. Yesterday, we reported on some Danish students visiting historical sites in the territory. It's a partnership between the Virgin Islands and the Kingdom of Denmark that aims to restore these sites and transform them into architectural, cultural, and arts institutions. All of these efforts lead up to the Virgin Islands Centennial Celebration. NEWS2's April Knight has that story.
There's quite a bit of activity going on at the old J. Antonio Jarvis building on St. Thomas. The century-old structures are being primed for a major Virgin Islands Centennial project in search of identity. Senator Myron Jackson takes the lead on St. Thomas. He said this entire block from the intersection next to Lionel Roberts Stadium all the way down to the bottom of Government Hill will be transformed into a new arts and culture corridor.
To educate our youth in the areas of the traditional crafts and also in arts and culture. And then likewise the building of a museum. In the interim, we'll use aspects of these complexes for the expansion of a modern museum.
The undertaking already has $20 million in funding. $10 million of that is a matching fund provided by the Kingdom of Denmark, and the required $10 million match pledged by Governor Kenneth Mapp. The Danish government also provided some 30 architecture students to help with the initial stages of restoring the historical sites.
Sure, going to be here for 3 weeks in each island district. Let's say that this is a work in progress. Phase 1 would be the documentation and the creation of the concept of this arts and cultural corridor.
At the end of the project, St. Thomas will have a national museum, a school of the arts, and a cultural center. On St. Croix, a school of architecture is being planned. The arts and culture corridor might not rise in time for the 2017 centennial celebrations, but according to Jackson, it provides hope for a community long underserved.
As community members and now as a policymaker, in moving forward with the wishes of the community and the society in the advancement so that our youth will also have the opportunities.
Reporting for NEWS2, I'm April Knight.
Senator Jackson said supporters of the projects made it possible. Commissioners and staff of Public Works, Property and Procurement, the Governor's Office, the Cultural Ministry of the Kingdom of Denmark, My Brother's Workshop, and the Senate, and that's just to name a few. Well, here's a politics lesson, turning attention to politics. You've heard us talk a lot about delegates, but how do they decide a party's nominee? Here's a quick study in U.S. presidential politics from Zane Asher.
You've seen them wearing funny hats and waving signs at national party conventions.
Delegates.
Delegate.
Delegates.
Delegates.
Candidates covet them, but what exactly is a delegate? And why are they so important to the US presidential race? They come from all 50 states, Washington, D.C., and every US territory. Bigger, more populous states like California, Texas, Florida, and New York have more of them. For the most part, candidates win delegates through primaries and caucuses. While the rules vary from state to state, generally more votes means more delegates. This summer, thousands of delegates will come together at their national party conventions, where they declare their support for a specific candidate.
Ohio, Madam Secretary, cast all 188 votes for the president and the next president of the United States, Barack Obama.
In order to become the party's nominee for president, a candidate must receive a majority of these delegates. For Republicans, 1,237 is the magic number. For Democrats, it's 2,383. And there's an additional wrinkle for Democrats: superdelegates. These are elected officials, governors, senators, and party members. Former President Bill Clinton is a lifetime superdelegate. There are more than 700 of them, and they can vote for whoever they want.
So what we've seen happen is that Hillary Clinton has gone out and has effectively collected as many of those as she possibly can. So that's basically putting those in her back pocket even before we had one elected contest happen.
And while there is still more voting to take place, at the end of the day, it's delegates that win elections. Zain Asher, CNN, Atlanta.
Great message there. Well, keeping our eye on the economy, here's a look at the stock market watch at the New York Stock Exchange. As we take a look at the numbers there, we can see everything's up. The Dow 212, NASDAQ 39, S&P 500 21. Coming up on NEWS2, our Black History quiz. He was a 19th century African-American inventor best known for inventing lubrication devices used to make train travel more efficient. He was also the official first known real McCoy. Answer coming up. Welcome back. The Virgin Islands Water and Power Authority has scheduled a service interruption for a portion of St. Thomas Feeder 7B on Friday, February 26, from 1 a.m. to 5 a.m. Some of the residents in Paul and Pearson Gardens community will be affected by the service interruption while crews install an automatic transfer switch for the West Indian Company, WICO. The switch will allow WICO to be powered by two different feeders. The authority apologizes for the scheduled interruption. Well, here's an update. The fire service is pleased to announce that the parts for the apparatus were successfully installed and the apparatus was cleared for online operation, and that apparatus and personnel assigned to the Bordeaux and Emile Berry fire stations have been relocated to their jurisdictions. All emergency calls for both the Bordeaux and Northside communities have returned to normal. The Virgin Islands Fire Services appreciates the commitment of all personnel to continue providing full service throughout the island during this temporary emergency. Government agencies and community stakeholders gathered in a town hall meeting last Monday organized by Senator Kenneth Gittens on the future of the Villa Lorraine fish market. According to Senator Gittens, some solutions came up, including the building of a new facility. Funding has already been identified to make the fish market functional, according to Gittens, and now it's time to take action.
The conditions in that area right now is totally disgusting. We've heard of draft plans and the need to get the fish market back in working condition as soon as possible. We explored the options of building a new facility versus renovating the existing one, where most of the issues are related to the underground plumbing system. We heard from speakers including the fishermen Eddie Schuster and Mr. Jose Sanchez, representing other fishermen, who believes that the best plan for the fish market would be a layout where each fisherman would actually rent their own bay and be responsible for their own water, electricity, and cleaning.
Well, now for a moment in Black history. Ever heard the phrase, the real McCoy? Well, this is where it came from. Elijah McCoy was a 19th century African-American inventor. He was born on May 2nd, 1844 in Ontario, Canada, to parents who had fled slavery. McCoy trained as an engineer in Scotland as a teenager. Unable to find an engineering position in the U.S., he took a job working for a railroad and subsequently invented a lubrication device to make railroad operation more efficient. He returned home to Michigan after becoming certified as a mechanical engineer. Despite his qualifications, McCoy was unable to find work as an engineer in the U.S. due to racial barriers. McCoy accepted a position as a fireman and oiler for the Michigan Central Railroad. It was there he developed his first major inventions. He obtained a patent for this invention, which allowed trains to run continuously for long periods of time without pausing for maintenance. He also developed designs for an ironing board, a lawn sprinkler, and other machines. Although McCoy's achievements were recognized, his name did not appear on a majority of the products. He died in the Eloise Infirmary in Detroit, Michigan on October 10, 1929. He was 85. Senator Jackson announces the formation of the Sports Policy Commission, which was formed on February 18th. The successful passage of Act 7659, the sports policy legislation, he says, is a milestone legislation in support of our athletes, trainers, sports professionals, youth, and the recreational community. The members of the new commission are as follows: Mr. Angel Morales, Commissioner Beverly Nicholson Doty, Mr. Ron E. Harrigan, Mr. Peter Seipel, Mr. Milton Jackson, Commissioner Pedro Cruz, Mr. Roberto Camacho, Ms. Lucille Hobson, Mr. Claude Gerard, Mr. Wayne Biggs, and Mr. Dennis Brow. He says over the years, the government has disappointed its hardworking athletes as they have been forced to practice in poor facilities, proper equipment, and uniforms without. It will be used also as a means of generating revenue through sports tourism and initiatives. Meanwhile, the Department of Sports, Parks, and Recreation will be in the Scion Farm community on Saturday, February 27th, to host a Community Children's Fun Day at the Rudy Krieger Complex. That's from 11 a.m. until 4 p.m. Commissioner Pedro Cruz said they have partnered with the Governor's Office Early Childhood Comprehensive System program that will be offering valuable information and services to parents while the children participate and enjoy different games in the park. The VI Lottery congratulates the Department of Agriculture for presenting the 45th Annual Agriculture and Food Fair that was held on February 13th to the 15th on the fairgrounds of the Rudolph Schulterbrandt Agriculture Complex and dedicated the tickets with the images of produce. That drawing was held earlier. Are you the winner of the top prize of $175,000? Here are your winning numbers.
The VI Lottery presents draw results of today's drawing on News 2. Here are the top prizes. Fifth prize for $20,000, 00025, 00025. Fourth prize for $30,000, 19063, 19063. Third prize for $40,000, 09017, 09017. Second prize for $65,000, 09593, 09593. And the winning ticket number, the grand prize for $175,000 is 32323. 32323. If your ticket number wasn't called, keep trying. One of these days, your number could win. The next drawing is March 10th. Play the VI Lottery and imagine the possibilities.
March 10th, mark that on your calendar, and good luck as you check those ticket numbers. Stick around, your News 2 AccuWeather forecast comes your way next.